The following program was made possible thanks to the generous support of our Kickstarter backers.
Well, first Holmes was born, then he got fat, bald, and tired.
Sup, Holmes?
Beware, your host, Jonathan Holmes.
Thank you so much, Sinistar, and thank you, Justin and Jake. Jake? I just met you, Jake. Phew! A lot of J names.
Triple J.
Triple J. Justin, Jonathan, and Jake. Here we are. You are two members of Vagabond Dog, the developer of Always Sometimes Monsters, published by Devolver? Did they do that?
Yeah, published by Devolver.
Yeah, right. Jake, you're somewhere different than Justin. Where are you guys?
Actually, no, I'm in Toronto as well. So
oh, okay. You just aren't in the exact same room.
I'm a kilometer away from Justin right now.
Yeah.
We have that restraining order, so we just stay a kilometer apart, so it's fine.
I'm glad everything's okay. That's a giant Always Sometimes Monsters poster that Justin has. Was that from a show, or did you just make that for vanity?
My dad gave it to me as a Christmas present so that we have something to like show as a backsplash when we went to PAX East.
Awesome. Yeah, that's where we met in a hallway one time. You were very enthusiastic, as was I. For people who don't know, Always Sometimes Monsters is a video game that was in development for some time, if I remember correctly. It didn't just suddenly happen. And it's a game about, well, it's about, you'll describe it better than I will, but for me it was a game about the opera scene in Final Fantasy VI times 1,000. Like, the opera scene in Final Fantasy VI, I've talked about it on the show before. The fact that it juxtaposes, like, cute, looking like they were made for a mainstream audience graphics with, like, why is there, like, a depressing opera happening right now? Latching onto this kind of drama, mixing it with cute, low-res graphics. Such a special event in video games. Always Sometimes Monsters blows up that feeling through the roof. You're looking at these cute, almost like I could imagine them wearing bling or being sold. I could picture buying a gift for my theoretical daughter and it looking like some of the characters in your game. But then they're talking about using heroin and being homeless and whatnot. What a special game to make. Is that the feeling you were going for when you made it? Did you want to strike that?
So, I guess Always Sometimes Monsters is a game where you play 30 days in the life of a person, going from the East Coast to the West Coast before the love of your life marries somebody else. Along the way, you are beset by trials that will test your ethical code, but there is no right and wrong in the game. Every decision you make is ultimately decided by yourself, and you are the only judge. So you go forth on your adventure, and every decision carves a new path until you make your way till the final conclusion, and whatever story you happen to make along the way is unique to you, and that's sort of the game. And it plays like a top-down JRPG sort of style, like an adventure game, but there's no like combat system, there's no stats, really. It's just like story and stuff and choices.
And oh, sorry, I was going to say, some people really love it and it touches them, and some people think it's complete garbage. So
that's how you know you've done something.
Gamut of life, like it shows us, like having people hate something and love something shows us that we did something that we believe, like we did. I think we did it right. Like we sort of made what we wanted to make, but yeah, it has a wide range of reactions. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And was that
it's
surprising?
Weird. Like it's absolutely. Oh yeah, because it was absolutely. I think like I didn't like as we've compromised very little on certain things. So like I was very adamant about a lot of decisions that like I'm not sure I would make the same now, but like it's definitely a game of our minds at that time, I think.
Well, that's about as good as anyone can hope for in terms of making something. But I'm interested to hear if you were surprised that the range of reactions was that wide. Maybe you expected people to be like, oh, that's kind of cute, or oh, that was pretty good, as opposed to like hating it. Like, no. Did you expect anyone would hate it?
Honestly, we were surprised anybody.
Yeah.
When the first person came to us at PAX and said, "This really connects with me," or "I really enjoyed what you're doing," or you know, "I like it because of this," it was encouraging. But then for every negative thing too, you can also see their point of view because it's such a personal thing. Everybody's different, but honestly, we didn't know what people would think. So any feedback was like, wow, people are really into this, or it was very humbling. I don't know, Justin, what do you feel?
I expected to be ignored.
And the fact that you weren't, the fact that you elicited strong reactions on both sides, did that feel like a success then?
Yeah, I mean, success is a strange when you don't really know what the goal of the whole, like, why did we make the thing? I still can't figure out exactly why this is what we picked up for our lives, but it is. Yeah, I don't know. So I do measure the total scale of reactions as a success. I guess it did something. People paid attention to it enough, so something went right.
Yeah. It had an effect, and therefore people ingested whatever you gave them to some degree, and something happened inside, whether they liked the way it felt or not.
It's not designed necessarily to make you feel good. You can feel good playing it. Like I think my final playthrough, I felt very good. I got one of the saddest like endings, but I felt very, very good about it. It's one of those things where the reality and the personal subjectivity of the way you feel about it can be very, very different. So I don't know. I think you can feel good playing the game. I think you can feel very bad playing the game. But I'm glad that you feel you can feel if you want if you play the game.
Right. Huh. I wonder how many of the people who felt bad playing the game and therefore decided to disrespect the game, to attack the game after they felt bad. I wonder how many of them were just kind of misconstruing the feeling they were having, thinking, well, if this makes me feel bad, it must be bad.
Actually, I don't think that was the case, Justin. I think the people who felt that way actually really liked the game. It made them.
Yeah. We get a lot of people who are like, "Holy crap!" Like I feel terrible about it. Like, but I really like that it did that. I don't get that from other things. Like I don't get this flavor. Doesn't come around very often.
Right.
I'm glad I picked it.
A fair amount, it sounds like, of the people who felt bad when they played it. It was what they, I think the term is ego-syntonic. It still feels good, even though it was a painful experience in some way. I'm going to guess that some of the harsher criticisms you've received are because you do take on such big, important topics, at least I feel that they are, that people can't help but put those topics up on a pedestal unless they are the craft or whatever, unless it's made in such a way that they think it should have been made. I mean, a game talking about heroin abuse, people want that game to be just the way they always wanted it to be, because that's like a holy grail of topics. If your art form is going to be taking on serious issues, that's huge. And if you didn't do it just the way they wanted you to do, I can imagine their disappointment or anger would be all the stronger. But that still is a compliment in my thinking, because you took on the topic where other games just wouldn't.
Most complaints I see about the game are largely around, I think, system stuff and like things that like our hunger system is like, it's in there for this very specific reason, but it's very poorly, like we didn't get to do enough with it, and like it kind of loses importance past a certain point, and so people who invest time in understanding and managing it don't really care about it afterwards. And there's like things like that in the game that are dotted all throughout, and I think those are the largest complaints we get.
I think, well, I was just going to say another complaint is that it's like we don't follow the thread of something serious happening all the way through, but if we did that, the game would never end. So we kind of had to sort of have something happen and then move the story along, because otherwise we'd go off in all these different directions and we would never be able to finish the game. So maybe something serious happens and we don't pay enough mind to it, like, okay, we don't have a full funeral for a guy who dies in a car crash, or we don't try to get a guy out of a burning car, but like we still have to move the game along. So the people who thought those were serious things that should have been dealt with, maybe we didn't deal with those as much as we could, but then again, we wouldn't have been able to finish the game, because, like, think about life, right? If you had to every day make a choice and then go off that path, it's hard to bring everything together at the end. So it was kind of
absolutely.
It was difficult. It was our first game too, so we definitely learned a lot, and we can only do better on our next one. So.
Interesting. That's one of the complaints about Mother 3. the sequel to Earthbound, people give as well to Itoei, who is a famous essayist in Japan. I don't know if you guys ever played that game, but there's a scene pretty early on where a major character dies, and it's not explored in a huge way right then and there. The game kind of moves on pretty quickly from that point. But that's kind of how life is, sadly. Like, people are insensitive, and something terrible will happen, and you'll tell everyone at work that your grandma died, and you'll be in tears about it. And for everyone else at work, it's just, pass the coffee. They'll think about it for 1 second, and then it's over. So to me, it kind of still rings true that you can't hang on every tragedy in your game and in a lot of video games.
It's not only that, though. There's a lot of other ones where people want opportunities to find a new life in the form that they seek, right? So, like, I've had a lot of people wish that they could find an option where they just, like, they never go on the adventure at all.
But you wanted to put that in the game, actually.
And I've always, and we kind of like...
to just be like, just walk around the town and click on things and now...
I'm like, literally, I'm totally like...
You can do that, I guess. Technically. But who wants to play a game like that?
Yeah, you can play 30 days of literally just, like, living in your shitty apartment, like, writing your journal and, like, eating food and doing normal things and not doing really anything of significance or, like, advancing the plot at all. I mean, there's a couple things you can do around town that'll advance the plot, too, but for the most part, you're just not doing anything. And there's people who wanted to, like, be able to do that forever.
Or stop in a city and become a prize boxer and never leave. Just quit your job and...
So people, there were some criticisms. Again, to me, this is a compliment, because people had this expectation of you guys that you would be able to basically make real life the game. Like, well, how come I can't do everything I can do in real life in your game? The fact that they even are questioning that shows how real they did feel when they played it.
It's a problem like a lot of other developers have had, I think, and it eventually, I think, will destroy you if you don't ever get your audience's expectations under control. Going down this sort of like life simulation, sort of recreation experience is, like, I think, a path of, like, absolute self-destruction. Like, you'll destroy yourself trying to make what reality is in a video game, but it is ultimately the only path to rebirth, because how else are you going to make a virtual reality in which you exist, and then that virtual reality of you makes a virtual reality of yourself again, and then you live in continuous, like...
Wow. Mirror in a mirror in a mirror.
Yeah, forever. And then that's how life exists, and that's how everything happened.
Is that what you guys are working on next? Don't tell me yet. We're going to save it for later in the show, because that'd be pretty exciting. More about you two. How did you get together to form Vagabond Dog? Are you the only two people in the studio? Give us a little bit more about your background on that.
Okay, Jake, you want to start, or you go? How do we know each other first?
Oh, we knew each. I used to work. I was a community manager at Xbox Canada, and Justin was just a community guide. He would write for us and do events. So we knew each other through that community. And he was always a good writer, and we always talked about games a lot. And then he went off and he did Gamers Unplugged?
Yeah, I did
so you could talk about that.
Yeah, I did a project called Gamer Unplugged, where I got rid of all my stuff and started hitchhiking and backpacking and taking buses around North America, visiting game developers, and writing about it along the way, and like crashing on people's couches and like asking them about like how they got their passion for game development and like what life is like for them, and figuring all that stuff out. Then along the way, I got the idea for the game, started working on it in my head a bit. When I got home, I reached out to Jake like almost immediately, and we got it working.
Huh. Awesome. Just got a text from Sinistar saying we lost Jake's video.
How do I get it back?
Been a black square. I think you would have to hang up and then call back. We can wait for instructions from Sinistar about that.
I got a nice still image of my head.
Yeah, I know. You look good. You look
I have a
like
good
you're
connection, so.
Yeah, it just happens with computers sometimes. Sinistar is advising you check the gear settings. In the meantime, I will talk to Justin about Gaming Unplugged? Sorry, missed the name.
Gamer Unplugged.
Gamer Unplugged.
Yeah.
I wonder if you would call it that today, given all of the feelings people have about the term gamer. You're back, Jake. Excellent. Gamer Unplugged, was that a text? Was that video? How was that experience documented and then shared with people, or was it?
Yeah, it was on a blog. Like, I was supported by a very small group of people who like knew me, and like I was a freelance journalist for years before I did any of this, and so I actually think there's a post on Destructoid I wrote from the road about a guy I met who was like selling magazines door to door, and he woman, and he like she recognizes like his gaming tattoos or something like that, and then it turns out they're like longtime guildmates in World of Warcraft, and so
and
like
they never met in real life.
And they'd never met in real life, and he just like happened to knock on her door because he was like living Vagabond too, right? So he like bumped into this guildmate and like, you know, so had a nice evening with her, like and met her family and her kids and stuff like that. And then it was interesting to see this story. So I think that's somewhere on the site. I don't know if you have it or not anymore.
I will find it. I'm sure it's on there. We don't erase anything.
It's out there. I think
I will link to that. Huh. That is. And when was this? What year did you do Gamer Unplugged?
2 years ago, I think. 3 years ago.
That recent?
I don't remember.
Huh.
Yeah.
I feel like always sometimes Monsters has been in the back of my head for much longer than that.
Definitely not.
No, really? Huh.
Well, how long was it?
In fact, the game wasn't even called Always Sometimes Monsters until about halfway through development.
Huh.
That's true.
Yeah.
What was it called at first?
Save the Date. Which is another game.
Someone made us save the date while we were making this game, and then we're like, oh, okay, well, we'll just change the name.
Yeah.
We just came up with 3 random words, and then we had a name.
Yeah.
Are they random though? What is the story behind the name, if there is one?
Yeah. So after we had the we had to change, I decided that like I went and I tried to like write down, okay, like what is this game? Explain this concept of, you know, the fact that we're always sometimes monsters is like the truth that you can't, you know, you can't escape the fact that like you are eventually going to, the only path to sacrifice, but you won't survive, and so then in order to survive you must accept that you will always sometimes be a monster, and it means different things to different people at different times in different ways, but I like it, and so it fits, and it's there, and I don't know, it's there.
It's an amazing name, and not everyone, I don't think it clicks with everybody necessarily right away, but for me it felt like a game that was always waiting to be made, and was really excited when it was made. Jeez, I'm thinking about eating a hamburger out of a garbage can right now.
Yeah.
I think that's one way I wouldn't be a monster in my mind, because I wouldn't be contributing to all the companies who are doing incredibly inhumane things to animals and going about treating their foods in ways that are probably going to end up murdering us. Maybe they won't. I hope not. But some of the stuff I read is pretty concerning. So if I ate the food out, yeah, maybe that's why I'm thinking of it too. So if I eat the hamburger out of the dumpster, I'm not contributing to that, but other people would think I'm like Oscar the Grouch, who I think.
No, but you're lightening the load for the waste management systems. So you're ultimately facilitating and like cutting their bottom line, and they're the guys who like profit the most off of our like immense waste production problem.
Huh. I had not
the hamburger you take out of the garbage bin, because the people are still paying for that garbage bin to be taken away every Friday, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But it just costs that much less gas to truck that much less garbage because you ate it.
You're taking money. You're taking food
And
away
you're damaging the national healthcare system, because that maggot burger is probably gonna like cause you to be sick in like go to the hospital and like sap public resources, and but
Sure.
really you can't escape it. You're always sometimes a monster, man.
Yeah, if you get sick, you're a son of a bitch, and if
Yeah,
you
it's your
don't
fault.
get
You're a
sick,
bad person.
jeez, what a terrible jerk. You buy food, you're terrible. If you take food from the dumpster, you're terrible. Is there any way to win in life that you guys know of?
Save the
Yeah.
dog. That's it.
Save the dog?
I just wanted to make sure I punish people who sold the dog. If you save the dog in the game, you're a good person. If you don't, you're an ass.
Right. A little bit more about your roles at Vagabond Dog.
Sure.
Pretty clear. Justin did a lot of the writing on the game. Jake, what did you do on the game?
I'm like the sanity to his insanity. I put everything together for the most part, where Justin sort of creates a lot of the vision. I would say sort of like I'm more the technical side, if that makes any sense.
Oh, sure.
The assembler,
Right.
You handled all our ports,
porting. Now I'm doing
all our
ports.
porting.
So it's just my background. I'm more of
That's
a
a big one.
technical computer science type programmer. And
Right.
I mean, Justin also has those skills, but they're like an artsy side of it. So he's very intelligent.
I lack discipline.
He lacks any kind of structure in his head. So like when he tries to create something, it's a big jumble, but it usually works.
It works, but it's like also like a little bit of a nuke at the same time.
So I think I'm also like that voice on his shoulder, like, are you really sure? Like, does this make sense? Or sort of, because sometimes I think, Justin, I think you go insane trying to come up with some of these, like, it would never stop. Like, you keep thinking, what if this, what if this, what if this? Is like, sort of, I've kind of like, so it's a good combination to have like the art brain and like the math brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin, how did you come to get to know Jake in a way where you would respect his opinions on those things? Any sort of partnership, I think if you don't respect each other's opinion, first of all, you can't fight with each other if you don't respect each other. You'll just placate each other. And but likewise, unless you allow the other person to curb you every once in a while, then it's not really full collaboration. I wouldn't think so. How did you decide? Yes, Jake is the guy who I'm going to take this feedback from and take this organization from.
Because Jake is the only one smart enough to have said yes.
That's true. Other people said no. That's true.
I wonder why they would say no. Do you think they were maybe intimidated? Maybe just didn't see it.
I'm insane. That's the problem.
Yeah,
like
Justin is insane, but the thing is, I don't think that they could see the vision. Like, I don't think they could. Like, it's a big risk and it's a big endeavor to say like we're going to create something, and everyone says, or like we were talking about people who criticize the game like this is garbage, this is garbage. I'm like, we'll make one and see what garbage you create, right? Like everything's garbage. It's just some people like it and some people don't. But I think like initially we probably sound like crazy people. Like Lauren is my wife of 13 plus years, and she was supportive of us. And without people like her believing in us, that we wouldn't have had the confidence to believe in ourselves. So and you know, so it just kind of, it's just a good, you just know, right? It's just a good collaboration, and you just know when things are going to work.
Sure. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So is it just you two at the company?
No, well, I mean, we've got other people that like work freelance and stuff. Our artist Emilio is he's doing all our art for the game, and we've got Sean Hatton who leads the Destroyer team, and they make the music. And there's Donovan who did all the portraits, and we had other people along the way who did sprite work, and like it's sort of just this mishmash of like whatever talent I have within arm's reach and can use, and it's all good. It's what we need. Then people go on and hop off, and it's Vagabond.
Right.
Yeah, that's the name. And it's all Toronto-based artists. You guys are from Toronto, right?
I mean, yeah, we're from Toronto, but people work from home online. So we've had American, Mexican artists. We've had a whole bunch of people all over the place.
Sure. How did you end up getting all these people involved? Because again, like you're saying, without faith, without the excitement, the optimism to put your energy into something to take a risk on it, nothing will happen. And somehow not only do you two have that, but you've managed to siphon on to the excitement of other people too, and collaborate.
How did we convince Emilio?
Craigslist and free sandwiches.
Where are the sandwiches?
Yeah.
Did you make the sandwiches yourself?
No, we buy them at Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
It's easier.
No, it's one of those things that like I think when people finally like they get the game, it's like one of those things that like I don't know, it like does something to your head and you're like really into it. And I've seen really into especially when they're working on it, and I understand why. But it's like it's one of those things until you start working on something like this, like the freedom it provides and like the like sort of endlessness of the vision is both terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. And for certain people, that's what I think makes them get up and work every day.
Right, because if it's a project you're really invested in, you can tell, like, so many people say, I want to make a game, I want to do this, but at the end of the day, they just won't come through. So the people who came through were the ones who ended up working with us, right? Because they had to have that same passion, and you're basically working at the start for nothing.
Yeah.
So those people who really wanted to work were the ones who ended up being sort of part of our team.
Yeah, it's one of those things too where I think I have a very weird background, and so like I don't like when people come to me and they want to work on something or I need somebody and I'm looking at people. I don't necessarily always look for the same things people have, and it's more of like a trial by fire if I have a good feeling about somebody. And the people who find their faith and those spiritual warriors for your game, they'll stick around and they'll withstand the inferno you throw at them, and I like that. And those people, they last.
Yeah, so it sounds like you cast a wide net and then are willing to do a little bit of trial by fire by what gets caught in the net, and whoever makes it out wins. So important. I think so many people miss this. Who you're working with, to be able to communicate with them and not have ego and not have the thirst for drama and conflict that sometimes people have get in the way. You can have the most talented writer, artist, what have you, in the world, but if they are like sending you secret hate mail from alt email accounts and talking about how they hate your guts, then it's probably not going to work out. A lot of people apply for work at Destructoid.com, where I work, and they'll be amazing writers, and then I'll find out that they pooped in the CEO's desk or something at their past job, and it's like, well, I can't risk you pooping on me. No job.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes, I'm a poop guy. Yeah. Well, it is pretty awesome, right? I want to hang out with that guy.
Yeah.
But can I entrust him to not take something I say the wrong way and then end up deciding to blow off all his assignments or actively?
No, I know what you mean. And if you're working on a labor of love, you don't have room for any of that, right?
Yeah.
You gotta no time for CEO poop desk talk.
We also, I think we were also very careful in accepting working with a publisher too.
Yeah, that was
but
good choice.
I mean, they showed us good faith because literally we went to San Francisco to pitch Devolver the game, and we didn't have passes to GDC. We spent the night before just polishing this complete turd of a build that we thought was going to blow them away. And we get to the conference, we're waiting around, and then they're like, oh, hey, how's it going? And Justin knows Nigel from Devolver. So we went, they just took us to some side hallway. They sat on the floor. We put this little computer on a basically a bench and said, here's our game. And we were like, doo-doo, showing the credits, walking the guy through. And then 10 minutes later, okay, cool, that's great. But it was more about that discussion of they saw something in it versus they needed to see this pristine technical demo.
Yeah.
They saw the vision, and then because of that, we knew that they were probably the right people to work with.
Were there other publishers that wanted it, but you turned them down? No.
Nobody.
Did you think the game would have happened
if the first offer we could get? Don't get me wrong.
Do you think the game would have happened without Devolver? If it weren't for them, would we have all these Sometimes Monsters?
I think so. Justin?
will never know the answer to the question, right? But it's one of those things that I am glad it does exist, and I am glad to have had that help. Could it have existed? Yeah, I could have. It could have. This game wouldn't exist without Devolver.
Right.
But a game probably would eventually exist without them. I don't know when though. Could be the thing I do as my part of my midlife crisis, right? Like who knows? It could be anything. I have no idea what that game would be.
I can't wait to find out, because maybe quantum physics will allow me to see if the cat died or not, and if Devolver took the game or not. Maybe one of these days we'll split them.
No, when you're on your deathbed and your like pineal gland like activates, it'll happen.
I look forward to it. I'm looking forward to your midlife crisis. Hopefully, I'll survive to see what kind of things you make at that point.
Enjoy the pool.
And I'll see what my pineal gland does shortly after that. Did you have to sink a lot of money into the game? Not only energy, time, faith, all the things that are true resources in our lives, but the practical resource of stuff that makes it so you don't die. The money. Did you have to put stuff that in? Did you have to put a lot into that?
I would say. I mean, it was not free. But it was, I would say, probably on the cheaper side of games, because I was living in my parents' basement at the time, and like, so I was drawing like a really low salary, and like, it was really low budget project for the most part. But it still took about a year and a half or so that adds up over time.
Sure.
Right. And so it and more money than we had when we started, which was zero.
Right. Well, I guess that's true. I was working, but I actually quit. Well, yeah, I was kind of in between stuff, so it was just the right time to do it. I mean, nothing stops rent and vet bills and food and groceries and all that. So you do have to, like, thankfully Lauren was supportive of us during the initial phases, so that was really helpful.
Sure. And at this point, has the game turned a profit?
Oh.
First day?
We did that in like 2 days.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah.
Yeah, that was like, oh, we did it. Now what?
That's great. First 2 days, and it's been out since the summer?
May 21st.
Right. Got it. Awesome. Well, so it is a success story. We don't have to walk away from this being worried.
No, we're still working. We've got time to keep working and keep making games and stuff. Like we're here. It
gives us time for our next project, and it gives us resources that we didn't have when we started the first project.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
It's
sure.
It's more comfortable now as far as like not being forced into decision because like time and money. Then now we can take our time and really do the next thing or the next things we want to do.
Sure.
That's a big difference.
Yeah. I don't live in my parents' basement anymore, which is nice.
Do you visit the basement sometimes, or are you just?
Yeah. I go back there. I see my parents quite frequently.
Oh, cool. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I just saw my mom earlier today. I had to help her get on Gmail. I clicked on Google, and then I was like, now click on Gmail. And she was like, that's it. It's pretty cute. She's 75, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun, teaching old people about computers, because they want to learn so much.
I'm looking forward to that happening to me. I can't wait to see the technology that outpaces what I've already seen. Like I want some like young future whippersnapper to like come and take me on my like old man rocking chair, and I'll be like, what? And he'll be like, look, you just like control it with your brain and you enter alternate dimensions.
No,
and I'm like, I don't understand.
He's just gonna be like, here's how you show your penis on Snapchat.
Yeah.
That's all it's gonna be.
350 realities.
Well, that's the thing. We have to look forward to not only the technological changes, but the cultural changes. Like teaching somebody who's 70 about email, they're like, why would you even want to be texting all the time? I'm like, that's the culture now. People want to be constantly communicating, not so much focusing on the moment, but focusing on what everyone else's moment everywhere in the world is about, and what's going to happen next. How are you going to stimulate me in the next second with some funny quip on Twitter or whatnot? In 70 years, Justin, when I'm assuming you're in your 20s, you seem 20s. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Oh, neat.
I'm still 20.
The culture might be constant dick pics, like Jake is saying. That just might be the norm.
Hopefully
Like,
not.
where's your dick
It could
pic?
be, but I find that our people are just egocentric. Like I'm talking really young kids, like 12-year-olds nowadays.
Yeah.
I find they're of a higher intelligence. They're reading Chaucer very frequently.
Really?
I think we're going to enter a new enlightened age. Where
Really?
these super psychic children, they're going to just rock it. They know how to bring
spell,
peace and
though.
love.
I think you're way off.
Well, spelling is over.
Are you busy?
I mean, yeah. Have you played on Call of Duty? Like, who can be that comfortable with other people without having some sort of like internal understanding of like ephemeral love for everybody? If you can be that comfortable to be that like offensive to somebody on Xbox Live, that means you've got some like spark of humanity in you.
Huh.
We're doomed.
Well, it's a point I think about at least 5 times a week. This new anonymous culture that's been formed on the internet, probably the most interesting new culture to be formed by the human race in the past few years, where everyone is awful to each other, but since nobody actually knows each other, the insults don't sting. When I call you a disgusting fat slob, but I've never seen you, you're just, Panther Lover 404 on 4chan or whatever.
Oh,
Nobody's
that guy
mean
is
to me.
gross. Yeah, I know. Sorry.
But they're not, they feel a
At first, I
oneness.
thought the Panthers were a sports team, and then I became acutely aware of other communities.
Yeah, it wasn't sports.
And they feel an intense amount of acceptance, even though they are all potentially having these traits that would make them ostracized in normal society. But this anonymous culture, I guess it does have its charms to it. I wonder if it'll make psychic children for us. That I'm a little skeptical about.
I think I don't know. I don't know. People can be horrible people, but I think at the same time, like we all adopted this system, this culture at the same time. You can walk away. Like I'm barely online for anything anymore. Like I go through periods where I like just completely don't have Twitter or Facebook or any of that stuff anymore. I won't even answer emails. You have the choice in that. You have the freedom to not be part of any of that.
Sure.
You can just unplug and say,
Yeah.
I'm going to do what makes me happy.
I think you make a good point about kids, though. They're growing up with this as their base.
Yeah.
They grew up with, like, Super Mario.
Right. They
Or
grew up
Donkey
with
Kong.
4chan. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so, like, there's a whole nother... I don't even know what's going to happen. They're just going to maybe discover our game in 20 years, and then we'll have, like, the best game. Like, this is what society was like back then.
It's a time capsule.
Crappy little graphics.
Look at the graphics are so shit. I can't believe how bad 2015 was.
Can't even run it in HD. This is garbage.
I think the graphics are. I quite like the graphics. They're unsettling to me in a way.
Yeah. Sorry. No, carry on.
No, that's all right. It's just about me. Who cares? What were you gonna say?
People want like Crisis 3 graphics, and then they want which is fine. It was just like Justin said, though, the budget was. I think we presented it the best way we at the time had resources to.
But it's so fitting in that, I'll rant a little bit, I guess. It looks like graphics made to appeal to, like, everyone. Like, it looks like Nintendo Mii's, kind of, or again, like Monster High dolls that I might buy for my 12-year-old fictional daughter. It looks like it's ready for everybody, the graphics. And then the content is so potentially painful for everybody. I love that juxtaposition in the way the game looks.
Yeah, it soothes you into it, I think, and it soothes you out of it. The problem is, like, the game can be kind of like bipolar in a lot of ways. Like, very serious things can happen, then very goofy things can happen, then very, sad things can happen, or whatever. It changes very frequently, and I find that, like, zoomed out perspective, don't get to see much facial expression. All you really get to understand is who is speaking at a point in time, and, like, one of 5 possible emotion indicators. That reduction allows it to be more you can adopt the characters and the situations easier as yourself, because it's your own interpretation of everything. It's not, it doesn't force you. which is a big part of what the game is about, right? That's why we have you can play as so many different characters and have so many different storylines and do all these different things. That's the whole point of it. So having that vagary of it is something I think we used, but also was necessity out of like what we could do graphically with our expertise and budget.
Sure, but if you didn't have that, if your tools were taken away from you in terms of being able to make something that looks like a David Cage game or something, you might not have written the game in the same way. You might not have. I mean, I'm assuming that limitation factored into your entire creative process.
It would have made it incoherent if you made it like a David Cage game. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. The thing is, like if you look at a game like Heavy Rain, it looks fantastic, but the actual paths that you can chart are very narrow.
Mm-hmm.
Our game looks like whatever it does, and it has far more paths available because we don't have to spend $100,000 building an environment that will be there for like 30 seconds. We can just like slapdash some things together in this pixel art, and it's like, okay, here's the scene, it's good enough, and like there we go. Like there's certain scenes that like literally took 10 minutes to like dress and everything because of the graphical style. Especially now that we've got our tile set available and it's all in RPG Maker, so like anybody can do it now.
That's not to say like we didn't try, but like there's just certain corners you have to sort of be okay cutting to make sure that the scene still delivers in sort of
if you want to have that much content, that's the price you got to pay.
Yeah, and that's the where your priority was giving the full breadth of content as opposed to making a super detailed small thing where there's not a whole lot you can do, which to me just makes so much more sense. I guess it's just my preference. I hate to make sweeping generalizations about the way all games are made, but for what David Cage seems to be going for, which is like, this is the real life, guys, and then just forcing me down the uncanny valley and thinking about how I do not look anything like Willem Dafoe in that fairly interesting game, Beyond
Don't
Two
sell
Souls.
yourself short, buddy.
I wish I looked like him. I just read. Spider-Man. I read an interview with him. I guess he made his first porno when he was like 14 or something.
Willem Dafoe?
Yeah. He's very open. There's footage of him dancing nude on like cable access for New York somewhere. It's worth watching. He's so happy too while he's doing it. He's like 21 and he couldn't be having a better life at that point. But anyway, yes, my rant. I want characters I can identify with but then be disgusted by. I want to go into identifying with them and then going out and being like, oh, these people.
You just want to hate yourself.
Well, don't we all? Because that's the reality. Always, sometimes monsters, we all feel like, am I a disgusting, awful
don't
monster?
know?
Am I one? I know. At least I asked the question. I'm not sure if I am.
I mean, according to Jim Sterling, you would have been, based on the show, your previous podcast.
Oh, you know about that show.
I listened to it, yeah.
Yeah, that's a compliment and also a worrisome for me. So it was a compliment.
I thought he was just a mean Brit.
He's not mean.
I know he loves you.
Well, I don't know about that.
Maybe in ways that we can't talk about here, but I'm sure he does love you.
He has an amount of energy that is astounding, and he just desperately is trying to find a way to channel it, and sometimes it'll be in without meaning to. He'll intend to be like, how are you today? And before you know about what's next, it's like, and then the skeleton is fisting you, and so he can't help it. It's his imagination.
It was really entertaining, actually, so. I mean, just not to go off topic, but
I will pass that along to him. That's very, very kind of you to say. I feel like that's similar, though, to Justin's creative process. Justin, you said earlier you don't know why you made the game, so you can't rate if it succeeded or not. Do you know what caused you to want to do this? Did it feel good doing it? Is that why? Was you just following your emotional process?
Yeah, why did you
know.
make this game?
I think, huh?
Why did you make this game?
I don't want to make it. I just had to.
You wanted to. Hello?
We all struggle with this problem where you are. You know what? Have you heard of the concept of the phaneron?
No, what's the Fenron?
Phaneron is the sum total of your sensory inputs. It is not reality. It is just this what you perceive as reality. You're trapped in this phaneron, right?
Like
no
the
matter
Matrix. Yeah.
what. Sort of. It doesn't have to be so like that.
Okay.
Like you can't see the color spectrums a bird sees, right? That stuff is outside of your phaneron. There are colors out there you cannot understand. Birds can see them, you can't. Boom. So
Right.
I feel like we're all trapped inside of our own individual phanerons, and like I can never be sure if what you perceive of reality is the same as what I perceive of reality, and so I think a lot of game developers, myself included, make games to try and express what our particular realities are like, what we see of reality, how we understand it. And that may seem like a strange thing to say as somebody who makes a game where you're supposed to play as yourself or somebody else, or takes on all these different roles in which I can never be part of or play as or experience, but it's sort of just, a communication of how you see reality. And that's sort of like, if once you have that curse of that desire to push that out to somebody, it never goes away, and so you have to keep making it forever.
Makes a lot of sense, and it also makes sense that your expression of what your Fenron, is that how I pronounce it? Fenron would be a game like Always Sometimes Monsters, because clearly part of your experience in reality is wanting to understand other people's experience in reality. Otherwise, you wouldn't have traveled across the country really just to try to get into other people's heads and know.
But that's an interesting question. Did I do that to get into other people's heads, or did I do that to get into my own head? It's still a hard thing to say. You can't tell until you're done all of it,
right.
And I don't think it's ever done.
And I guess they're not mutually exclusive either. Maybe the way to try to get in your own head is through other people's heads. I don't know, or vice versa. Oof.
I'll just say, so much of the game came from personal things to us, or personal things to Justin, or there's so many little touches in people would never know that came from something we were influenced by.
Mm-hmm.
Just minor things that no one will ever know that actually was something that Justin experienced, or something that I went through. You'll never know. So we each took our own perspectives into making the game. And when we played, I played the game 100 times, so I know every little thing that happened. So the mystery was gone. So I think maybe when new people play it, they'll go through these experiences, and it will mean something completely different than. I'm not going to say what was intended, because there was no intention, right? It was sort of how you interpret something, but it was a very personal thing, and I think what Justin's talking about is you're trying to get these personal views out of your head and into this game.
Right. And it's something more and more developers seem to want to do. Is it something that you always wanted to do as developers, or did you at one point just think, I'll be making the next Mario Brothers? That's like as far as I want to go with game development.
This is my first real game.
Yeah. Is it the kind of game you always wanted to make, or did you?
I didn't want to. I wanted to make games when I was a kid, and I first found games. Then I didn't. I wanted to do what you do, and then I didn't want to do that anymore. And then I wanted to do this.
If I could do what you do, both in terms of creative output and just in terms of the bravery, the particular kind of bravery it took to do what you did, I probably would. Maybe I'll get it someday, but so far so bad.
Everybody can. Everybody can. Everybody should.
I know, but it's easy to say that, and it's true, but it's also not true. You know what I mean? Like, if I could just write, I was saying this earlier for some reason, if I could just write 30 Rock scripts, I would do that. Like, that would be so fun. But if I sit down to write something, it's not 30 Rock. It's like Samus and Sagat at the kitchen table talking about Smash Brothers. I can't help it. That's just what comes out.
Then make what you make.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm doing, I guess. For better
Maybe
or
that'll
worse.
be a game, though. Maybe that'll turn into a video game.
That would be, if somebody wants to make that game, that's a new show I just put out on Destructoid called Samus and Sagat, also known as Roomies. Because
You
they're
may have
roomies.
some licensing issues, but I mean,
Well,
like,
it's parody, so I'm
Oh,
safe.
Yeah.
once you
Sure
start
it
making
is.
money though from it, I don't know. You could be like,
It's like
a
Mad
good-
Magazine. I'm safe. Yeah.
This could be a good game.
Yeah.
As far as like wanting to make this game, I don't. No, I never saw that coming. Like I've always wanted to make. I've been playing with game stuff like since Game Boy. Like I would make things on Game Boy, but nothing. I never actually made a full game. I would just program and whatever the new thing XNA, or I would just make something and like show my friends, and that was the game. So,
Any particular kind of games you like to make more than others?
No, I mean, for me, it was more just about learning the technology and playing with the tools and that kind of thing. I mean, I'd like to make a game where you're a dog who flies a spaceship and fights other creatures.
That
Like-
sounds great. It's like Stardog?
Like a ball fox with a dog, but then, or I thought about making a game based on The Littlest Hobo, which is basically you play a dog and you're trying to go around saving people or like getting people out of buildings on fire or stopping crimes or stuff like that. But as the dog, you can't communicate. You only know a certain. So it's more about observation and how you as a dog save people.
Whoa.
It's kind of like Lassie, but if you're Canadian, you know Littlest Hobo. He was a German Shepherd who would go around, ride the rails, go into a situation, fix a tennis match. He'd go like fix your car. Then he'd be friends with the family, and then at the end of the show, he'd just go away and it'd be
On his
sad.
own.
I'd cry like I'm gone, bye. Like the dog would just leave, and the people like bye. Like you can't just do it. That's so sad.
I wonder how much it would cost to get the rights to Littlest Hobo. That game could be
I'd
a
buy
huge
it.
hit.
If I can afford it, I'd buy it.
Don't
Because
Bring me the price tag. Go bring me the price tag, and then I'll make enough money to buy it.
it really, yeah, it would be. And for whatever reason, I try to pay attention to trends in video game development. I think a lot of the stuff that is talked about a lot but hasn't sold big is going to be huge in a couple of years. That's usually how it is, right? The small clubs are where the tomorrow's hits are going to be. Just have to wait a couple of years. Games about being an animal just doing stuff. Like, people want that really bad right now. Octodad is kind of that. Goat Simulator, they made like $2 million or something off a game where you literally just are a goat. Cat Lateral Damage is coming out soon. People want, and I'm guessing it's because that's as far as games have gotten in terms of being able to really give you the full breadth of complexity of a human experience or life experience, they can pretty much put all the tools in to make you feel like an actual dog. Not quite a person yet. Like, they can't do like sex scenes yet, but they could do a dog sex scene because that's not that complicated. You just jump on them and
You can do sex scenes. They're not hard. I mean, we've already that's just like turn clipping off or turn clipping on, and then just like it works.
This is true, but I guess to try to recreate the full breadth of the
Like the intimacy and like
Yes.
emotional stuff of that.
The emotional
Yeah,
No, I'm not
like
talking
you can
about
do the emotional intimacy of a dog having sex with
No,
Like anybody knows what that actually feels like anyway.
That's a
We're
bad
all
idea.
dead inside.
that's a bad. No, that's a bad idea. We don't want.
Sorry for my bad idea.
We
So
don't want-
Littlest Hobo will be
It's no sex. Just
no sex.
No
I'm
sex.
saving
No.
people.
No
Saving
little sexy hobo. No.
people and learning language. So you would learn cues from people, like that old. What was it? Farsighter, the guy who draw the comics.
Oh, sure. Gary
There was
Larson.
that comic with the dog. It's like blah 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 Billy, blah 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 Billy. Like all your dog understands is his name, right?
Sure.
So as the dog in this game, you would learn words that would help you gradually become more of a hero.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then
Yeah.
you would get in the spaceship and fly and shoot cats.
And then we close it, and it's the one sentence that can be made up with all the words you know.
You're right. It's like the fridge magnets. Then you can.
Yeah, it's the ultimate truth of the universe.
It could work.
Would you have to make up a new to simulate the experience of being a dog learning human language? You would need to make up a new language, I guess, for human beings, the player. So it would have to be like blah 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 lassie blah blah blah, and then you would eventually through experience. I'll read those questions in a second. Oh, Dave Waldron's here. Hi Dave. That's great. Oh, a lot of great people on the questions. Anyway, feel free to ignore my question.
You know what? I probably shouldn't talk about this idea too much because I don't want Miyamoto to steal it for Star Fox 3.
Yeah.
I hope you make this game, though. This sounds like
I
really
have a
fun
dog
game.
that kind of looks like Fox McCloud. She's a husky, so.
Husky McCloud. Sounds perfect.
The thing is, like, your whole question was, did you want to make this game? And no, but I'm glad I did. I'm glad you did. And so,
yeah, I'm glad you did too. And before we jump to these questions, before I forget, do you have a game you're working on now? Is it this Littlest Hobo-esque dog adventure or something else?
We are not done with what we have established with Always Something. People who finish the game will know, say, the never-ending ending is never ending, even though you think it's ended. The ending is never the end. Is never the end. Is never the end.
Wait, so what you're saying is keep your save file.
Keep your save file.
Okay.
Don't delete your save file, and good things will happen to you.
Really? Huh. So there's more, not a sequel. A sequel?
I don't know. What does that even mean anymore? Games are services, man. We're getting microtransactions.
Basically, take the words in the title, shuffle them around, and then we should have more soon.
Sometimes always monsters. Makes sense.
Sounds cool. That's a good idea.
Smart man.
And consoles, because you have more money now, and you've got clout. You are talked about. You're on a best of awards lists, at least.
And worst of.
And worst of. But either way, you're being talked about. What if people were like, we want to port your game to consoles, we want to, add polygon-based graphics, blah, blah, blah. Would you be interested in that sort of thing?
Graphics, that'd be a weird addition, but yeah, I mean, like we're totally open to listening to any offers that we've had.
We're working on stuff. I mean, we've put our game on Mac. We put our game on Linux. We put our game on Android Fire TV. And this is a game made in RPG Maker where everyone said, well, you can't even put this on anything else. And so, and we have more platforms coming. So we are trying to get it out there for people. And consoles would be my dream. Like, I mean, I've always wanted to make a game on consoles, of course, right?
Sure. And is it going to be easier to get it potentially on consoles now that I'm guessing you got it out of RPG Maker in order to make it fit on Mac and Linux?
It's still in RPG Maker.
You got your
machine does the thing. I mean, there's options now. So, Sony, let's talk.
That'd be good. They like games like that. They want to be edgy. They're pretty edgy.
Shane, come on, guys.
Yeah.
So I'll get to the viewer questions. Dave Weldron asks, were there any choices that you felt disgusted by, professionally, morally, religiously, etc., disgusted by offering, but felt you needed to include for the sake of the game?
Yep, I'm sure everybody else did. I know I did. Why they were included is because it's hard to say because there's a lot of things in there I wanted to take out after, but I felt were really important. Like Jake said, a lot of the scenes are mishmashes of personal experiences mixed with fiction, mixed with stories we've heard, mixed with all these other things that go on to make that develop fiction, right?
Sure.
And so there's parts there that I was like, at the end, I might not even have said anything, but I was like, I totally want to just like rip scenes out. I wanted to like hack and slash because you get into you can fall into a very destructive sort of mindset when you're nitpicking everything. And I, at that point, decided not to. And those were the more. I wasn't disgusted by those scenes, though, if that's the question. But I felt more contentious about them than anything. Disgusted by there's nothing that disgusts me. I made poop come out out of a roof. Like you shit on people.
On a car.
You can cripple a man and then shit on him. Like I don't really find anything disgusting, and nor do I find any of it particularly necessary either.
Do you think you would? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jake.
I was just going to say there were certain scenes that I don't even know if people have found because we've never had any backlash on stuff. But there's some stuff that happens in that back alley that if you're really desperate and you need a place to sleep, you may have to really lower yourself to maybe a level you never thought you would even see in a video game. So, I mean, I kind of felt like, is this right to have in this game? I'm like, yeah, this could happen. It's gross, right? I animated the head perfectly to do the thing that they needed to do to get the bed, like kind of like this, like. But anyways, it's just like, should that be in a game? And I'm like, yeah, I guess this is like, if we're really trying to tell a story, why are we shying away from this content? Like, we're not trying to do it to be edgy. We're just being like, this is a situation that could happen. So if it happens, it's kind of gross, but you kind of forced yourself into that corner based on your choices, right? So you didn't have to do it. It's just like you chose to do it, or your character's in such bad position that they have to do it.
Right.
They can advance the game and sleep.
And how much better to be disgusted by something you did in a video game and reflect on it in that safe environment than, real life, where being disgusted, sometimes disgusted is interesting, isn't it? We get grossed out by things that are potentially harmful to us in terms of a maggot burger or a smelly person who might share disease with us or hurt us or something. Smells, for some reason, evoke a lot of disgust. And it's all about avoiding harm. But if you're making a game about real life, you're going to have to make aspects of it about harm happening, psychologically, physically, otherwise.
The real, I think, trick with it is that you can subject a character in a video game to any number of things, and it'll eventually roll off the backs of any player. But then you can take something like, now you are aware of that I don't know if you've seen the scene we're referring to or not, but you are aware that there is a deplorable scene in this secret area, in this bridge, under the bridge. If you go there, you will push your limits and you will see what it is, and it will be your choice to continue looking and deciding, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going, I am just a player, I am going to keep going. And that disassociation is really what the whole thing is about, and the playing off of that, and how you can accept being such, this horrible entity that controls this character, and just let these horrible things happen to them for your own sick amusement.
Fascination, curiosity, absolutely. Yeah, I'm remembering an interview with the people who made a Serbian film, which was known as the grossest movie ever for a while. I don't know if it still is. And they had it's similar to what you're saying, in that they wanted to know whether people were going to be willing to watch it, and if so, what does that say about them that they're choosing to? And they also were very open about when you make up something, it's the same as when you were talking about poop a lot. When you poop in the toilet and you look at it, you're usually not ugh. Whereas if you stumble upon somebody else's poop, maybe you are, Jake. I don't know if your own poops disturb you.
You get aroused, right?
I wasn't sure anybody else did that. So.
But when you make it, it's not disturbing or disgusting because
it's not arousing either. It's not arousing when I do it.
I wonder, there's some study, isn't there, about whether you can draw your own pornography and be aroused by it, or whether it's just tickling yourself? I don't know if it's possible.
It's hard. I haven't tried.
I haven't tried it yet.
No, I don't know.
It's very difficult, regardless.
I can use my imagination well enough. I don't need to.
Yeah, you don't need to externalize it. I want to make sure I pronounce Mr. Kaya's name right. He's a longtime viewer of the show. Tala, I believe it's pronounced. He made a game everyone should check out. He and his brother made a game called Sleepy Time about being depressed while masturbating, and it's a rhythm game. I've talked about it before on the show. I'll talk about it again now. It's free. It's on itch.io, I think. Sleepy Time, worth checking out. He asks, what has been the benefit of working with Devolver other than their marketing campaign? Has there been more to it? And it's a great question. An indie publisher Devolver, a lot of people are like, that's an oxymoron. If you're indie,
money. That's probably the biggest benefit of working with them.
They helped you financially. They had faith in you to do that.
They gave us the money necessary to get production, and like neither of us are artists. They gave us money to get artists, and neither of us are musicians. They gave us money to get musicians, and all of that stuff, plus the guidance and like suggestions and help along the way. Plus, it's nice having like a little family that you can say hi to when you're at PAX and joke around with on emails.
We'll see them in a week. For me, it was on top of guidance and suggestions, and it was our first time, so it was someone to say, like, you guys have been here, you've done this, and the chance to interact with other developers, and it's a real sense of community and family. So, like, everyone I've met who's worked with Devolver has been super cool and super friendly and super helpful and encouraging. So they bring all that together, and so you feel empowered to make something and to take chances. So I think it's been great being part of that family.
Sure. Their optimism and their excitement is contagious, and their money is contagious, too.
They're good people, too. That's the thing. Like, it's more than a name. The people behind Devolver are good, except for Graham, who likes to eat fish, which I don't like. But anyway, no, they're all good people. They're really great people. So
nice to see them succeed, too. If I remember correctly, they were also Gamecock, or at least members.
You're right, Gamecock.
And I was personally really depressed when Gamecock didn't take off. They made some really interesting games, too, but it really just wasn't the right time and place. Digital distribution didn't take off yet. They were trying to sell retail games that probably would have made a lot of...
It's hard to do that.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, points to you, Devolver. We're glad you exist. Glad you're helping people. Tobacco saves lives. Speaking of Devolver, a question from viewer Tobacco Saves Lives asks, is Fork Parker as cool as he seems, or cooler?
It depends. Like, I have a very different definition of cool than most people.
What do you take cool to mean?
I don't know. Like, if you can like flow with people, they're cool. And like, I don't know. Sometimes like it's like hitting a brick wall because he's a strong guy.
Strong guy.
Like
really large,
emotionally strong. Really large. What now?
Yeah, no, not like bear wrestling.
I don't know. I've heard like from people, like ladies. No, but can I swear? I don't swear.
Oh yeah, sure, you can swear.
Oh, he's cool as fuck. Yeah, cool as fuck. Yeah.
Cool to me, and I've annoyed people with this before. I'm a little sad about the word still. Being someone who writes sometimes, I think about the origin of words. I think it was formed from, like, I don't show emotion. I am emotionally cool and therefore contained and therefore look like I'm in control and therefore people are going to look up to me and see me as like an enigmatic James Dean, Han Solo type dude who's so cool, whereas someone who's hot is giving off a lot of sexual energy. I just want to be warm. I want to not hump anyone, but share emotions with them, and I want that to be put on a pedestal. Warmth. Why can't we look up to warm people, for goodness sakes?
Well, we look down on cold people. Isn't that good enough?
Do we look down? We do. You're right. So it's like in tiers of who we think is worth valuing. Hot, cool, warm, cold, I think is how it goes. It's like every other tier. Huh.
It follows the...
So I won't be warm or cold. I'll be hot or cool, I guess is the way to be a worthwhile person.
We need it. Well, but then you have a four-star system. You need a fifth star in the middle.
I wonder what the fifth star will be. This is actually the Parappa the Rapper system. Now I'm thinking about it.
No.
You guys.
Then the middle one is like absolute neutral, like absent of all concept of like a true zero.
That's not right.
True neutral.
The top level is S rank.
Right. Sonic the Hedgehog talk. And then S plus if you.
Yeah, that all makes sense in the alphabet. A, B, C, and S is the best.
I've never understood that either. What does the S stand for?
Special. Super cool.
Yeah. Could be super special.
I never got it either, but I just knew that's what I wanted to be.
Yeah, me too. Still trying to get that S right.
I want to be special.
You are.
Yeah, you're. I don't think there's anyone else like either of you two guys in video game development or otherwise. Both special. It's official. This just in.
Very unique. Yeah.
Andrew Saint asks if you could make Always Sometimes Monsters again, but as a completely different genre, What would it be? Whoa, could you do that?
Yeah, so I've got a couple different like this concept for a game can, I think, if you gave me like $300 million to do it and like wanted to also make it more fun, I think it would eventually be called Grand Theft Auto 5. But like yeah, I would totally, like if I had infinite money and power and like respect, then I would make a game about like ASM on the scale of GTA 5.
Huh.
But you can't. I can't do that. I will never do that. It will be what it is until it is something bigger than that, and then eventually it grows into new and better things.
I could probably make it.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jim.
I'd just make it a hockey game or something. But.
Yeah.
You're just
if you could make all the moral.
Do I pass the puck? Should I shoot?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like a normal hockey game, but like right before you go to make your action, it like freeze frames and like gives you this like long detailed backstory on the guy you're like everybody around you, and you understand their entire like this guy's family's like waiting on him to finish the game because they've got to go to a funeral for their grandfather, and then this guy's like trying to impress his first date in 10 years after he got dumped by this girl, and this is like if he doesn't sink this shot, you've got to like decide whether you fumble or not.
You don't fumble in hockey. See, this just shows he doesn't play hockey. Look, like
it's a great idea though to get in the head of
in real life where I could just pause the game and be like, oh, where do I shoot? Where do I do? That's my answer. I don't know. It's probably not gonna happen.
I'm just loving all the game ideas you're coming up with. People say games like hockey, like tennis, it is psychological. Can you keep from being distracted by these kind of thoughts that, like all of our thought processes work? We pour out a thought, and then we turn our cup back, and something fills again immediately. The faucet of thought never stops. So can you stop thinking about your dying grandfather long enough to make the shot? Or
while you're playing tennis? We should talk about the fact that Waluigi was invented just as a character in Mario Tennis and serves no other purpose in life. How about that? How bad psychologically he feels that he's just some throwaway that Nintendo invented because they needed another Wario clone to
that's the thing.
Luigi, and he's just some guy who lives in this depths of despair that he has no purpose except to just be like Luigi's little shit brother.
Which is weird because that's the best reflection of Luigi through the Wario lens that could possibly come out.
Yeah,
anyway.
but I want them to come up with other people like Wah Peach and Wah Toad and Wah Bowser, like a whole universe of like these under Nintendo characters who serve no purpose except just.
I want a strategic military game where you play Bowser as like an Advance Wars style Mario game, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're Bowser, and you've got like your Goombas, and you're like doing Advance Wars, and you're fighting like the Dry Bones Bowser, and he's the big boss enemy instead of like, yeah. And then that'd be a really
play
fun
that.
game.
That'd be awesome.
It'd be such a good game, and I think you could like even you could bring in Daisy because she's supposed to be like actually like she led the Sarasaland army as part of her duties as a princess. I think she could be like a wicked supporting character, and like Bowser and Daisy getting together making a wicked Advance Wars game. I think it'd be great.
I think you just made that up about Daisy.
No,
like
she did. Yeah, she's the sole. But nobody knows. And I was talking to a video game developer. I can't remember which one. Joachim Sandberg, I think. He made a mock-up for a Daisy 2D platformer that's all sports based. So she like whips out a baseball bat and like, but he couldn't figure out who the Goombas were of Sarasaland. I don't know.
Bring back the Shy Guys.
No,
Are they? They're Subcon, right? They're
Fuzzy Beetle.
Dreams.
Fuzzy Beetle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think highlighting Daisy's appreciation for sports only highlights her like inability to appear in Mario 3D World or any other normal games. She only gets sports games. Maybe that's her thing though. She's sporty.
Yeah, people take her as the shorter, stockier, more jock-like princess of the three major Nintendo princesses these days.
She is the best one.
I don't think that answered that guy's question.
I doubt he's disappointed. Now I want to know: does Dry Bowser have a Wah? Is there a Y-Drow Bowser or a Wowser?
Yeah, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean,
is there a Wah me and you?
Wait,
Are they on What's Up, Holmes? Like,
but has it been established that the W is from turning the M around, or is it just always a W suffix to the character? We don't know.
That has been talked about, just as the fact that toads, stop me if you guys know this already, they have gender. There's like a male, female toad.
Yeah, of course.
There's one female, well, that's to say, there's one woman toad, and then like the Smurfs, just an army of man toads, but none of them have genitals, so they are actually sexless. They have gender without
fungus.
I didn't.
Exactly.
know.
They
Okay.
procreate with spores anyway, so it doesn't
Right,
matter.
so below the waist, nothing.
No.
Oh, where is Watoad? That's who I want.
Watoad.
Yeah.
Wang. No, Watoad. What's Watoad? Sorry, I don't know.
No, we're having a good. Maybe Toadette is Watoad. No, I think about it. Anyway, yeah, way off track. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm gonna try to reclaim my
Yeah,
focus.
no. That's what
away
happens
from
when you drop. Mad.
We have 15 minutes left in the show. Where should we go from here? This wide open space we have. Most of the things I wanted to talk about, I think I got to, but I'm always up for talking about other things. Maybe I should go. Yeah.
What do you got? What do you got? What's in your moral plate? What do you got?
What's in my moral plate?
Yeah. Would you have for thought breakfast?
I was considering life and death today.
Were you?
Yes.
Have you come to an answer that sufficiently satisfies you to no longer ask the question?
Heck no. Not even close. Does anyone? Have you? Do you know the answer?
Just don't think about it. It's just not worth
What
it.
steps are you taking to
Yes.
to find the answer? Have you given up? Do you not care anymore?
I sure do care a whole lot. Steps I'm
You sure
taking.
do.
I guess I'm trying to put stuff out there and then look at it and then figure out what it all means, and hoping I eventually get to some sort of peace with everything. I think that's what
Right,
I'm
but
doing.
so that means that you think that the answer will ultimately come from within. If analysis of your own work is ultimately going to lead to the answer, that means you already know the answer.
So I'm trying to find the answer by expelling it, which means it's in there somewhere?
Right, which means that at least you believe it's in there already.
Yeah. I do think the passage of time, though, is going to reveal it. I think I'm going to stumble upon it through putting stuff out there as a way to interact with other people.
Then you think you're more of like a channel for it. So like it comes from the external, the outside of you, goes into you, comes through you as you create, and then you analyze it and come to understand the answer as channeled through you.
Yeah.
That makes sense, I guess.
Or at least something that just makes me feel at peace. I think that's what so many of us just want. Yeah,
What's
you
the
may
problem?
not...
What's the problem?
Where do I start? Yeah, I've got tons of problems.
Oh, we only have 15 minutes. I'm sorry. Your time's almost up, Jonathan.
I know.
We'll bill you for the full hour, though.
Dave Waldron is back with another question. Thank you, Dave. Do you think games, as a media, have any, quotes, responsibilities, unquotes, to tackle social issues? Or should we just enjoy them and not stress out about social representation?
No. There is no creator the creator is responsible only to themselves. I think the second you suppose any responsibility on any developer to do anything whatsoever other than make whatever the hell they want to make, you are destroying their game.
Yeah, it's something.
I mean, if you make it a responsibility, I mean, you can ask them to for sure. But it's not their responsibility. Their only responsibility is to make whatever game they want to make. Because as much as important as you think it is for you to have a game that does what you want it to do, this is their entire life leading up to this moment where they make their game and release it. It matters a hell of a lot more that they be responsible to themselves and deliver what they want to deliver, regardless of what anybody else wants. So no, there is no responsibility
But
anybody else.
Justin,
Just enjoy it.
I think it has potential, though, to touch people or to affect them in certain ways, which is great.
Yeah.
But I agree. I don't think you should feel any responsibility. But I do think there are games out there that definitely can affect people or can affect change. But I think sometimes when you do it if you just did it because you wanted to get a message across and affect change, then it may not have that same impact as if it came from your heart and you just did it and someone was affected by it. If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you go into it with an agenda, whether you want to or not, that agenda may diminish or dilute how honest your expression is. Because it wasn't just I couldn't help but make this, but I did. It was because top down I wanted to affect some specific change and manipulate people in some way by making this game, and it often comes off as insincere when people think that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah. These are the big questions.
You never know what's going to affect people, right?
Yeah, that's for
we've
sure.
literally had people tell us that we saved their lives.
Wow.
By playing our game.
Uh-huh.
Which is way above anything we didn't aspire to, stuff like that, right? It just happens.
All right. And if you
really
had felt beholden to any specific audience or any specific person other than yourselves to just try to be as honest as you could with the game you made, that might not have happened. You might not have saved anybody.
And that's why it's so polarizing too, and that's why there's people out there who just hate us or hate our game or think it's garbage because it didn't touch them or didn't affect them, which is fine. Everyone, I don't get mad at those people. Everyone can have an opinion, and that's what makes our world right? You can say what you want and feel what you want.
Sure.
But I'm glad that we've had impact on people, and if it didn't touch people or it just made them angry at us, I guess I'm happy too.
Well, yeah, to have some effect in this limited time you have in the world. It's pretty neat.
Yeah,
absolutely. I am curious, though, about the intensity. I felt like it was intense. Maybe it's just me. Justin felt somewhat intense when talking about this idea of trying to tell people, do not look to video game developers to go out of their way to try to cater to you. Look to them as sources of something interesting for yourself. And if you don't
make your own game. Just make your own game. If I can do it, literally, I'm the stupidest person. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. If I can do this, and be here and you're interviewing me, there's literally none of you have an excuse. Go out and just do it.
But the thing is, they don't.
Never ask anybody for anything. Just do it yourself.
But it's back to that tickle yourself thing again. They want to be tickled by you, just right. They can't tickle themselves. If they made their own game, they'd be like, "Oh, I already know."
That's fine. Then accept that. Understand that what it means for me to make this perfect game that I would love to play if I didn't make it. Understand what a sacrifice it is. This sounds way more melodramatic than it is, but it's a sacrifice. I will never enjoy that game. I can't stand playing my game because it's one of those things that it's just spoiled for you, and it's the best game in the world because it's got everything you ever wanted in a game in there. And you can't enjoy it. And then for other people to come along and say, no, this perfect game that you are sacrificing, change it. Do this different. I want the character to have blue hair. No, I want the character to move faster. No, I want the character to, be a pink elephant. It doesn't... That's not fair.
1080p is what they want.
Yeah, I want 1080p. I'm sorry I can't deliver 1080p, but it's...
Would it look different in 1080p?
Yeah, with the talking areas.
Probably. You'd have a wider draw. It's a totally legitimate complaint.
It would just be wider aspect ratio, but the graphics.
You just see more.
Yeah, fair enough. So telling them to make their own game, maybe then they would be in the same position you're in, where they can't enjoy the thing that they made. Maybe tell them.
I want misery loves company. Everybody make games.
I often, because I hate it personally. I have this weird neurosis / God complex. I hate it when people have barriers between them and enjoying a video game. Like when somebody says, I hate that game because it looks like a PS2 game, and I say, did you like PS2 games when they first came out? Yeah, they looked amazing. So now you don't because, well, my standards have changed. Well, maybe those standards are actually not helping you. Maybe if you can dial yourself back to the time when you appreciated PS2 games, you would enjoy more things. Whenever people come up with reasons to be dissatisfied and unhappy, and it just blocks them from seeing anything potentially good, depressing.
Sad.
Yeah, making me sad. If you're focusing so much on all the things about Always Sometimes Monsters that you think should have been different, then you're not noticing all the things about it that are actually interesting. You're missing out, buddy.
Yeah. At the same time, it just may not be their thing, which is completely fine. We can't make everybody happy.
I guess that's a different kind of...
that's a different kind. You're talking about just outright refusal
talking about
to
the people
acknowledge
who are,
something based on...
They're passionate and outraged that blank video game didn't do blank, and I played it for 20 hours anyway, and I really learned about how much I hated it, and they end up sometimes just using it as something that they're kind of bullying. They play the entire game just so then they can trash it later and as such feel like such a biting, witty critic by tearing something apart. And it's just
the only thing I think more petty than caring so much about a video game that it like causes that much vitriol is caring about people who care about video games enough to cause
like me. Oh no, you zinged me. That was resin zing. I've been bamboozled by you.
Shots fired, my friend.
Yeah, what is it about the fact that I really care about people liking
it's infectious. No, I do it all the time too. I read all the nonsense and stuff, but like everybody getting mad at everybody over every little thing, all the time, and it's not even just in games. It's the world. That's how people are.
Yeah.
Personal, social dramas. Things
Everyone
unfold.
wants you to be like
and
them.
So they're like anything that is tempting and indulging, it is bad for you. And so it is your choice, like it is your choice not to eat bad food and not to go to the gym. It is your choice and your responsibility not to indulge in gossip.
Right. And not indulge in God complex and telling people enjoy video games more. It's not, well, it's kind of my job, I guess. I'm supposed to write about it. They pay me.
You're nice about it, right? People are really
try.
It, so
I mean, I certainly
be nice to everybody. Don't be a dick to everybody. Like, not you, but I mean people, right? Like
in general.
There's ways like we can take so much from critics because we can learn from that.
Yeah, I love.
There's a point where a critic becomes just an a-hole, and you don't learn from that, or they just have this. They just really want to say something mean to you,
right?
Opposed to like give you some feedback or tell you something that you can completely understand that they didn't like this. Fine, I understand why. Okay, this is why. Okay, that gives you a different way to look at it. But some people are just idiot, like they're just mean.
Yeah.
So,
and I'd imagine you respect the opinion of someone who seems to care more about being mean than conveying an idea a lot less.
Well, it's just a thing. Like just talk to someone how you talk to them face to face, and then there'd be a lot less problems, right? Like you're talking about the anonymity, right? It's just,
sure.
It all stems from that. So.
Yeah. It is.
We do enjoy some of our most like famed haters. Or like,
I retweet all our hate. I love it.
That's the way. I love when people do that. I love when people just take this comment and just spread it to your followers. Okay, here, everybody, here's what so and so said, and just let it be because
that's part of the point. You're not supposed to like necessarily like the game. Like, it's a ridiculous idea.
Right.
Like, that's a ridiculous idea to have, like, as a goal, like, I want everybody to like the game. No, that can't happen. So it's not even counterintuitive to really what we want.
Right.
I get, like, it's more interesting, I think, when people share diverse opinions about the game and, like, their experience, because everybody has a different experience playing this thing.
Right.
Because the choices are also, like, wacky. And
is that what you think you love about it when you get that strong? I mean, it seems to me that what you would be most, I don't want to say unsuccessful. That's the only word I can think of. If people are indifferent to the game, it sounds like that would feel like, well, for them it wasn't a good fit. But if they love it or hate it, it sounds like that was, in your minds, maybe getting something out of the process, getting something to them.
Something is better than nothing, yes.
Yeah. And even though that's something is hate? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess. I mean, because at least with hate, you can work with something. You can't work with nothing.
Yeah. It's some kind of energy, whereas anhedonia, indifference, numbness. Let's see. Ugh, what can you do with that? Not much. Oh, we've got a dog now. Jake, is that your dog?
Yeah, he's a 14-year-old pit bull.
Oh wow. What's his name?
Tyson.
Tyson, as in Mike?
Yeah, Mike Tyson. Look. Mike Tyson, the camera, you can be on the internet.
What a handsome pooch. I really hope you do make your... Why don't you just... Would this be too easy, too obvious?
Wait,
to just make a game called Vagabond Dog.
Maybe we will, Jonathan. I'm a talking dog. He doesn't like this. Sorry about that.
No better note to go out on than that. I'm glad we opened it up to see what anything could happen, talking-wise. I got off my mental agenda for a second. You guys filled it perfectly. You guys know how to talk, Jake and Justin. Thanks for being on the show. They can follow you on Twitter. You're on Twitter? You're on Twitter now, right?
Jake and Vagabond.
Yeah, you're both on there. And they can see your game on...
Steam.
Where can they find it? Steam? Devolver's webpage?
Steam.
Yeah, on the Amazon Fire?
So you can buy it for Mac, Linux, and PC on Steam, Humble Store, GOG. You can buy it on Android or Amazon devices, Amazon App Store, and then more stuff soon. You can buy it, yeah. Go buy things. Go buy our stuff. You can find all that at vagabonddog.com.
Yeah. Well, there's another dog.
That's Lady Bird. She's in the game.
What a good-looking dog.
Yeah.
That's the dog who would be flying the spaceship, right?
That's the Star Fox too, right here.
I remember something I was going to ask you guys. Probably too late. Any thoughts on your fellow Devolver developers, Denaton, Dennis and Jonathan? Nice guys, been on this show before. Mm-hmm. Their game being rated out of the ability to be sold in Australia. Any quick thoughts on that? How can I not ask you that?
Dennis is cool as fuck. So
yeah, Dennis is the coolest fucking guy in the world.
Dennis is a super cool guy. He drank Fox Lions. Yes.
I think it's dumb.
Yeah. You think it would happen to you potentially?
It should have.
Oh. Yeah, probably.
What's on our game? I'm surprised it didn't.
Yeah, interesting ratings.
They reviewed our game on TV in Australia and gave it an 8.
Yeah.
And we have worse stuff than Hotline.
That's actually true.
Yeah, I didn't think Jake would make that up.
It's just...
it's really where people are worried that critics are going to somehow get games to be censored. It's really the ratings boards that I'm most worried about doing any of the censoring. I would like to see them done away with. They're pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a censorship lawyer. I just don't care about any of that because I don't know. I haven't had to deal with any of it yet. Like it hasn't been a problem for us. So I hope it resolves in their favor, especially in case in the future we ever have any issues. It could be used as a precedent. Sure,
absolutely. Well, thanks for that last minute question. I was curious, what having made such an interesting game with stuff that could very well offend ratings boards? Wanted to get your opinion. As for me, I'm at TronNots on Twitter. You can watch the show later on YouTube, youtube.com/SupHolmesShow. You can listen to it on Libsyn and iTunes as well. Most people like it as a podcast, I think, but every once in a while, particularly this episode, I would recommend, if you're one of the listeners, go back and watch it. Very good beard, very good dog, very good other dog, very good other beard. There's a lot of good stuff to see from you gentlemen. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.